Yeah, mathematically, if you count, and you count the way it's arranged, and you look at it, there are many flowers in the plant kingdom, but one of the sunflowers is the composites, which that is, or one of them. And they are perfectly arranged. There's a lot of sea creatures, too, that have that Fibonacci sequence. It's Fibonacci. It's an Italian mathematician. I don't know a lot about it, but I remember reading it several times over the years.
Looks like there might be one missing there, isn't there? Huh? It looks like there's a gap there.
Yeah, there is.
So it may have screwed up the Fibonacci.
Probably just recently got broken off.
Oh, really? United. Yeah, I like that too. Thank you. From there, songs.
I think that when people
What do you got for songs?
let's see, I'm going to start reading this almost like being in love. First hit is 364.
All right. Okay, welcome to New Madison on this warm, muggy, sticky summer day. We may have to start doing movie night in the spring and the fall because doing it like this is like you have to be committed to come and stay later today. First, we want to announce that Roberta evidently has broke her leg, and I'm not getting the email thing, so my name must have fallen off. Arm, sorry. So I need to get my name back on the email thing because I'm not getting the updates.
Okay.
So Roberta has broken right arm. So there's a card back there. It's not exactly a sympathy card. It's more of a thank you card for thank you everything you've done, and we really need you to come back. And if there's anything we can do to help, let us know. So sign that after the service. We will be showing Tomorrowland, which is a Disney movie, after the service. Everybody's brought in more than enough food for 10 times as many people. So appreciative of that. And we'll talk about Tomorrowland during the service, during the movie, and after the movie. So, any other announcements? Talked to Derek. I think we're settling on our community with El Dorado community service at the park in September. We're still kind of putting that together, but that's our plan. We would like to keep meeting with El Dorado at least twice a year, maybe more often than that. And we discussed at the last board meeting and community general meeting, with dwindling membership, we need to be thinking in advance what our plans are going to be. So just keep that in mind. Do we want to join with another church, El Dorado being the prime example? Do we want to trade back and forth? Just what do we want to do? Some people may be in favor of shutting down. I think that's probably the least of the last option. But that may come to that eventuality. We are all pretty dependent on everybody here who contributes. And if one person drops out, or like Roberta breaks an arm, we're lucky that we still have Lloyd, because a church service without music is pretty pitiful, even if it's recorded. So, okay, let's see. Can't think of anything else. So, our prelude is Almost Like Being in Love. Okay, you might be wondering about the PowerPoint presentation. As I say, we're talking about Tomorrowland. We're showing the movie. Tomorrowland is a movie about the future. It's a science fiction movie. It's kind of fun, but it also is a movie that we want to talk about and think about what the future holds and what can we do about it. The reason the wolf is up there is one of the primary quotes from the movie is a Cherokee tale that the Cherokee tribes used to instruct their younger ones. There are two wolves who are always fighting. One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope. The question is, which wolf wins? And that's what we'll be considering. Before we go too much farther, how many of you heard about the Community Unitarian Church in, it wasn't Sacramento, it was a town in California? This is their church sign out in front. This is their front door after they hung a pride flag out in front and their church was firebombed. They've received threatening emails and had all kinds of problems. I had their address and I misplaced it, so I'm going to get their address out again. And I thought maybe we could all sign a card and send to that church as another Unitarian Universalist church that is trying to stand up for what is right and is suffering the consequences. Right. Chalice lighting. As we travel in unknown lands by Barnaby Fader. We kindle a flame we trust will lead us forward as we travel in unknown lands, where the question is, shall I ever get there, resounds. A clear, pure note in every silence. Our opening hymn is 361. Bold and Courageous Together by Erica Hewitt. The word courage comes from the Latin cor, which means heart. According to the poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core, a striking concept that reinforces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer. To encourage means to hearten, to impart strength and confidence, This is our work as a religious community to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us, as well as what scares us internally, to give one another the confidence and heart to live as fully as possible. With full hearts, we affirm our relationship with one another. We recognize our agency and our connective power. We accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. This chalice is a symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls. Joys and concerns. As usual, we have an extra sunflower Mike has brought in. He's actually growing them. We have our 2 artificial ones here, and then I'm bringing pansies. Rather than buying flowers, I grow them in pots anyway, so every week I'll bring something in that's fresh and live. So, Ukraine is our first and always and ever and everlasting. The Russians are still bombing Ukrainian cities, still sending drones to Ukrainian cities. The Ukrainians have launched their offensive. It is going slowly. Landmines are everywhere, and more people are being hurt. The Russians have canceled their agreement to allow grain to be shipped out of the Ukraine, which means Africa, the Middle East, South America, all of these countries, all of these regions are in severe danger of malnutrition. A huge amount of grain comes out of the Ukraine. And there doesn't seem to be any way around that. Trucks or trains on the land transport from Ukraine to the Mediterranean Sea, evidently it's too difficult or not sufficient enough to make the difference between these giant cargo ships that carry thousands and thousands of bushels at a time. Roberta, hopefully she'll be feeling better. And as we all know, as you get older, watch your step because things break easily. So think ahead and be careful.
Roberta has great family support. I believe her son's here right now, helping her, and her daughter had been with her last week or so and continues to be. So hopefully with our support, her family, and all those friends she has, she will heal very quickly.
Good. We'll send Roberta a card, and obviously we can call Roberta after church. And we want to call Cecil, still having some problems, so we'll call Cecil after church and see how she's doing. If any of these people, if anybody who's at home and can't get out needs something, we are available. And we can help you with logistics. We were talking earlier, you can order food online. You can order practically anything online and have it delivered to your house for just a few dollars. So you are not dependent on a family member or a church member bringing things to you. We can help you set that up if you need that help. Okay, Roberta and Cecil. Anything else? Yes.
I got a joy and concern. The joy is next week we're going out to Michigan to pick up my daughter and 2 grandsons. We're going to go down, and the concern is my daughter hasn't seen her grandfather for a year. He's always been very robust, and even in his 70s, he's very strong, and now he's bedridden. I'm afraid she's not right now. So that's the concern.
But there is a joy in there too, and we need the joys.
The 2 grandsons, the 7-year-old, he's a good kid. He's real concerned about everybody's feelings, and he's an athlete too. I mean, he's a ball player all the time. The 2-year-old, I'm willing to bet anybody that you're going to see news. 5-year-old driving car. I know it because when they came, let's see, what was it, February or March, Sarah and 2-year-old. I'm playing with him, and then he was going somewhere. And I'm looking, he was in the garage, and
So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open for news. And it still is a joy, as hopefully it's done in a safe manner.
I'd also like to share a card that we received, if I may. We so often send those cards, which I think was your idea, as giving it back to the church when we end services, but this one is particularly touching. I just opened it, and that's why I feel the urge to share it. And feel free to obviously look at it. But as you know, Lonnie Valentine preached here many times for us. We developed friendships. He was associated with Earlham School of Religion, and just a really touching part I'd like to read because I think some of our listeners as well may want to hear this. And it's a picture of Lonnie. It's on the cover, and it says, "So long, and thanks for all the heartfelt wishes." Okay, very touching part. As word spread after Lonnie received his diagnosis, the question I was asked over and over again was, what might we do? How can we help you? And I requested that people take time to send a card or a note to Lonnie, and the response was spectacular. Lonnie had retired from the Earlham School of Religion, exhausted and disheartened, certain that his years of service for peace and social justice had been without consequence. When cards start pouring in with words of love and care, collegial reminiscence, community affirmation, Lonnie wept and wept overwhelmed by the sentiments expressed in this outpouring. I believe that those shed tears were profoundly healing to his spirit, and I have a deep, heartfelt gratitude for your compassion and contribution to that healing process. Sincere thanks for your messages sent to Lonnie. They touched him deeply, signed by his wife. Very, very touching.
Yeah, take a look at the card after the service. Lonnie's wife is really a nice person, and they make a tremendous match. But as she said, Lonnie did retire with a kind of discouragement, and we've talked about this, how the College of Earlham took the big chunk of the endowment from Earlham School of Religion. Bethany, Lonnie taught at Bethany too, and Bethany has had their problems, as I've described to you, considering my wife and the direction that the denomination is going. So it is really heartening, and I really appreciate Lonnie's wife taking the time and the effort to send out a card to us who are on the periphery. We're not close friends. We just sent a card that said we appreciate everything Lonnie has done, and I'm truly thankful and truly hopeful that it did help Lonnie in his last hours. All right, one more candle for those thoughts and prayers, those fears, those desires that you can't speak or maybe you don't even realize yet. All right, let's do the children's story. Which is a trailer for the movie.
Every second that ticks by, the future is right out.
It's not mine. The pen. Never.
What if there's a place,
Dad, I just need you to look at this. Was it over there?
a secret place, where nothing is impossible?
You're not seeing this!
Casey, stop it!
Go away! Did you see the door?
I want you to take me there.
Take you where?
Where'd you get this? Who are you, kid? What you saw was a place where the best and the brightest people in the world came together to actually change it. We've been looking for someone like you for a very long time.
Why? Did something happen over there? Something bad?
They followed you here?
Oh,
Come on! Get in!
how is this a good idea?
There's one way. They know we're coming, so follow me. you could fix the future. Hang on! You wanted to see Tomorrowland. Here it comes.
It's like any trailer, it makes you want to see the movie. And it is a fun movie, but it is a movie with a message, which is what we were going to talk about. Feeding the wolves. There are two wolves who are always fighting. One is darkness and despair, forgetfulness, distaste, evil intentions, evil actions. The other is light and hope, perseverance, never giving up, positive thinking. You can see the difference. The question is which wolf wins. What we're looking for today is how to help the wolf we want to win, how to help that wolf succeed. Strangely, this movie that posits simply in the believing in the power of optimism, that doing good in society can make society better. How did this movie do as a movie? Can you guess? A movie about positivism, positive thinking, a movie about doing good, a movie about creating a better society. It failed at the box office. It didn't make, it made some money, but it didn't make any kind of, Disney movies are usually extremely successful. And this is one of the ones that wasn't. Another one is the director. How many of you know Brad Bird? Ratatouille, The Story of the Mouse, The Iron Giant, the story of the robot that protected the little girl, a story about guns and the bad things that guns do in the world. The story of in The Incredibles, two incredible stories about a regular, normal family that tries to do good things. You remember the first plot of the first Incredibles. Every time the Incredibles tried to do a good thing, they were criticized for damaging and causing problems, and finally the Incredibles were outlawed until they were needed to save the world. Brad Bird has a real history of doing these kind of movies, and this one is, I think, the epitome, or at least one of the more advanced, of the idea that positive thinking, being a good person, can actually make a difference. Few people went to see this movie. Instead, what did they go to see? Lost, the TV series Lost, Hunger Games, The Matrix, Planet of the Apes and all the sequels, and last but not least, The Walking Dead, which I have never seen, and I turn away when the promos come on the TV. Zombies who are taking over the world, and these movies, there's many more that I could name. I did watch and rewatch Shaun of the Dead. How many of you saw Shaun of the Dead? The funniest zombie movie I've ever seen. And actually the introduction for Simon Pegg, who actually went on to do Mission Impossible and Star Trek, but he was an incredible character in Shaun of the Dead. But the zombies were basically, it was still a movie about hope and positive thinking, because he was sure going to the Winchester Arms would save them, no matter what the problems they would face. And then at the end, the surprise when Ed had been bitten by a zombie and turned into a zombie, they kept Ed in the shed out back. And Ed was still a zombie, but he was a friendly zombie. All right, a quick overview of the plot. A band of geniuses creates a hidden Tomorrowland of scientific achievements and try to warn the Earth of their self-imposed impending destruction. And that is the critical point, self-imposed. Look around the Earth today. Look at the people who are saying, it's hot every summer. This summer has been 110 degrees for 30-some days in Phoenix, hotter than it's ever been. This is the hottest July in the history of the recorded history of the Earth. And it's the hottest July all over the Earth, not just here, not just in some Arab country. not just in India. It's hot in China, it's hot in Brazil, it's hot in Indonesia, it's hot all over the world. Can you deny that global warming is man-made and taking place? If you're a conservative, you can. You still can say summers are hot and we're not doing anything about it. That is what this movie is about. The people in the movie, some of the people in the movie were trying to warn Earth of what was happening and what would happen if they didn't change their ways. The idea was to project all these terrible things that were happening and scare people into doing something better. What happened? The people of the Earth rigidly refused to believe the inevitable consequences of their impending environmental collapse. All except for Casey Newton, who is the girl you see, a girl who knows how things work. That is Casey's key. The interesting connection, I think, and this thought has gone on before, and it has been described before. How many of you are familiar with Ayn Rand, which is A-Y-N? I'm not sure why she pronounces it Ayn, or did pronounce it. She's dead now. She wrote 2 books, Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. They are libertarian Bibles. And I was going to look up all the conservatives that have quoted this in Congress. And any conservative you can think of who is basically what I would call wrong-headed, who spouts this kind of stuff, this is the book they hold up. They hold up Atlas Shrugged. This is another dystopian, imaginary world where Ayn calls them looters, but basically that's another word for leftists, have imposed bureaucratic controls over society. And what these bureaucratic controls mean is the rich are forced to pay for the poor, for health care, public health care. They have to pay for public transportation, for public housing, for public services like electricity, clean water, all the things that people want, all the things that people need. The rich, all the things that the rich have and the poor don't have. This is socialism triumphant, socialism that exists in 99% of the world except for the United States and a few other recalcitrant countries. So, what happens in Atlas Shrugged? The rich take their marbles and they leave the world to collapse. They go to a hidden place in in Wyoming. And they hide out there in their secure, locked bunkers, and they wait for the world to collapse, which in Ayn Rand's idea, it would collapse without the rich. This is without the Elon Musk and the Bill Gates inventing things. Supposedly, if we did not have these people, society would be nothing to Henry Ford's. I'm not so sure that's the case, but whatever. So then they come back and take their places after the society has collapsed in the book as the rightful rulers, the rightful capitalist rulers. I read this book in high school, and my adolescent hormones were stimulated by the sight of good grinding evil into the dirt and rubbing their nose in their failure, until my less hormonal, more empathetic conscience kicked in and said, these are only average Joes and Janes seeking a decent living, education for their kids, and not to be bankrupted by a medical emergency, a safe roof over their head, and a secure retirement. Is that too much for a billionaire to give up a private jet, a tropical island, a yacht so big it has its own yacht? You've seen the latest mega yacht? It actually has another yacht as the tender, a yacht that most people would think was huge. A penthouse in New York or a golf club in Florida, so thousands of nobodies could have a decent life. Is that too much to ask? For some of these people, it is. And what we need to discuss is why the people who vote, the nobodies, the people who don't have, vote to support those who have and those who keep and those who take away. That is the conundrum that I mull over every day and ask you to mull over and ask you to help me find some kind of an answer. Do our beliefs create our experiences? That is another question. This movie uses the brilliant minds of the time. They put Edison, Nicholas Tesla, Gustav Eiffel, and Jules Verne together to come up with Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is a place in the future where, just like in Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, all the rich, intelligent, creative people have gone to make a better land. As you saw in the blurbs, Tomorrowland has floating railroads, maglev railroads. They have space travel. They have robots, animatronic robots, and if animatronic rings a bell, this is a Disney movie, and a lot of the thought came out of the Disney animatronic. Only these are animatronic robots who, as one of the protagonists, has feelings and approaches humanity, whereas the other animatronic robots are basically hired killers following the dark side of the plot. So in Tomorrowland, there is a future that is being created for the people on Earth, but the people on Earth don't see it. They don't realize it. It's an enjoyable movie, and it's fun how they get to the Tomorrowland, but the seeds of Tomorrowland, the seeds of the Earth's destruction, are also in Tomorrowland. The ruler of Tomorrowland, the man who takes control of Tomorrowland, is so disappointed and discouraged by what he's seen on Earth. He's tried to warn these people, he's tried to tell people that they're creating their own destruction, and they refuse to believe it. They begin to embrace it. The more terrible stories they tell about the Walking Dead and earthquakes and floods and global warming, the more people just get right into it and say, I want to see more movies about the end of the earth. So he becomes discouraged and gives up on saving the earth, and that's how the plot is set up in Tomorrowland. All right, seeing every act as a significant spiritual practice is a quote from a guy named Joseph Telushkin. This guy I found it was in a description of Tomorrowland, and it says, see every act you do as being of great significance. Maimonides, if I can pronounce it, who is a Jewish scholar from the 1600s, oft quoted if you do any, we don't have our philosopher here, but I'm sure he would be aware of it, suggests we regard ourselves as being equally balanced between good and evil. The good wolf, the dark wolf, the light wolf, the bad wolf, and the world as similarly balanced. Therefore, one good act will tip the balance toward good in our own life and in the entire world. Conversely, one bad deed will tip the balance toward evil in our personal life, and not only our personal life, in the entire world. These are the laws of repentance. For example, when someone comes to you for assistance, imagine that you are the only person who can assist that person. Thus, if you help her, she will have what she needs, but if you refrain from helping, no one else will help either. On a societal level, bad behavior tips the balance as well. Criminologists understand that if a neighborhood has many broken windows in its buildings and they are not repaired, crime in the neighborhood, including violent crime, will increase. This is the broken window theme that was prevalent in New York 10 or 15 years ago. I'm not so sure that's been proven out in social science. What happened was the police began to enforce any kind of minor infraction they saw on the street. The idea being, if criminals know they can get away with jaywalking, if they know they can get away with spitting on the sidewalk, if they know they can get away with knocking some kid's bike over, then that will help them and encourage them to go on to bigger crimes. The idea is, if a neighborhood has broken windows and is dilapidated, and criminals or the ordinary people see a dilapidated neighborhood, they know that no one cares, and they can demolish, they can damage, they can break in, they can create more havoc. Just like the good wolf and the bad wolf, the good deed and the bad deed, there is some truth to that supposition. As a neighborhood begins to go into transition, as poorer people move in, their yards are junked up, the yards aren't mowed, what happens? The people who want to live in a nice neighborhood move out. And who moves in? Not someone who wants to live in a nice neighborhood, someone who is accepting of living in a crappy neighborhood because they don't intend to pay their rent anyway. So it's what they call transitioning, redlining. The neighborhood goes from good to bad to worse, and it never seems to improve. And there's always feel-good stories on the evening news. Some lady will go around planting flowers, picking up trash. It becomes a big news story and is in the public eye for a matter of days or a matter of hours or a matter of weeks. But does the neighborhood actually change? Is that enough to change the behavior of everyone in the neighborhood? No, it's not. So that's part of the bad wolf, part of the discouraging, disparaging looking at the way things are in reality. That is why fixing broken windows can tip the balance in the neighborhood towards better, more civil behavior by its citizens. Ignoring a seemingly minor detail can start a neighborhood on the path of moral deterioration. What we also want to consider is the effort to have the police enforce neighborhood politeness didn't seem to really work too well in New York. The people that were harassed resented it. The people who watched these people being harassed resented it. The police did not inform or did not make contact with the people in the neighborhood and let them know they were doing the work for the neighborhood. They were not there as an occupying power, although it seemed like that to the neighborhood, to impose order from above. The rich guy at the mayor's office saying, we want to clean this place up and this is how we're going to do it. The desired result or the desired approach is neighborhood contact. There are some police officers who can do that, and they make the news for an hour or a week or a month. You'll see the stories of the police officer who plays basketball with the neighborhood kids, or the police officer who buys lemonade at the lemonade stand and knows all the kids by name, and the kids know the police officer by name. Unfortunately, policing has become more of a military exercise where force and might makes right are the operating principles. And you've seen many of these. I didn't mention on Joys and Concerns, the police officer you might have seen on the news, the truck driver who was missing a mud flap, black truck driver, a young man, 23, so it's probably his first truck driving job, missing a mud flap. The police in Ohio tried to stop him to give him a citation for a missing mud flap. When he pulled over, they had their guns drawn pointing at the cab. Scared the crap out of him. So he pulled away in his truck again and called 911 and said, why are the police pointing their guns at me? I don't understand. And she said, you're just creating yourself more trouble, pull over and stop. He refused to do that. They put out spike strips on a semi, 18 wheels flat. His company, I'm sure he's fired like instantly. 18 flat, 22-inch tires is an incredible expense. So anyway, that stopped his truck. He got out, was on his knees with his hands in the air, and the local K9 officer released his German Shepherd on him that bit him all over the place when he was on his knees with his hands in the air. And you can have here on tape the Ohio State Police saying, do not release the dog, he's surrendering, do not release the dog. Off the dog goes. And you can see the local police officer saying, go get him. That police officer has been fired, obviously, well, not obviously, but it's at least that police department knew when on video it was an obvious thing, it was a real problem. But that's the problem that the police department has. The people who are in the military and become police officers have a might makes right. You have to respect me or I will tase you, billy club you, or insult you and demean you. The police in Britain can be like that. They normally are not, but the police everywhere, and you cannot blame the police, once again, light and dark. They come up against the dirtiest dregs of society, the people who are the most aggressive, the people who are the most confrontational, the people who do not react nicely to politeness. If you are polite and nice to these people, they think you're weak and they take advantage of it. So it takes an exceptional person to judge the situation in a police situation and know when to be kind and gentle and when to be authoritative and tough. And I'm not trying to tell them that I know how to do it. All right. Do our beliefs create our experiences? Or my question is it all genetic? Is it all mapped out by inheritance that can't be altered? Is there any point in trying to do better for some of these people? Will they ever learn? This is my personal experience. I am surrounded by people. One who, and I told you this before, I would give him a check and he would change the check like for plus $600, $800 and cash it. I would say, I checked my checks and you screwed the check up, so I'm going to deduct $100 from your check every month until you paid off $100. The next week I write him another check. What does he do? He does it again. 3 times he did this. What kind of person does that? What kind of mentality knows that I'm looking and I'm going to catch him? What kind of mentality does that? So now I have to send him his money on Cash App, because no matter how many times I've warned him, no matter how many times I've told him, and I'm between a rock and a hard place, because if I fire him, I won't get my money back. If I keep him working and take $100 of his pay every week, I'll eventually get paid back. What kind of situation is that? And I told you about the 2, and I call them homeless girls, but they're not girls, they're in their 30s. What kind of mentality? They're able-bodied. The one of them I know is addicted to drugs, but the other might use some drugs, but I don't see any needle tracks, and I don't see any signs of drug abuse on her. She has kids that are living with her mother. She does not have a driver's license. I said, why don't you have a driver's license? If you had a driver's license, you could get a job. I'll get you a car that you can drive until you pay me off. I'll get you the job. Everybody's hired in Greenville. And most of them don't even do, like Fram doesn't even do drug tests. I mean, anybody can work at Fram because they're so desperate for people. She doesn't have a driver's license because she has unpaid tickets in Indiana or Ohio or somewhere. I said, well, let's pay your tickets and get your driver's license reinstated. Who do we talk to? I've been asking her this for 3 months. Have we come up with anybody yet? No. You need to work, you're staying at my place for nothing. I'm not charging you anything. So, to pay your way, you need to do some work around, mow the yard, pull some weeds, trim some bushes. There's all kinds of odd jobs that I'm paying this other guy to do that you can do to work off your way. She'll go out and she'll pull weeds. And she'll pull a lot of weeds and she'll pile them up in the middle of the yard and then she'll leave them there. So the grass dies and I can't mow over a big pile of dead weeds. I said, if you're going to pull weeds, put them back where you pulled them up and then they'll be mulch and the weeds won't grow there again. I found a refrigerator for him, an old used refrigerator. The middle hinge was missing on the refrigerator, so the doors wouldn't stay closed. So I said, don't use the refrigerator until I find a middle hinge for it, because the door's not closed, not sealed. So I go in the next day, and there's a refrigerator plugged in, with the doors just kind of hanging there, open like 2 inches. I said, you can't do that. So I took the doors out of the refrigerator and took them into the garage, where she couldn't get to them. I come in the next day, and what did I find? What do you think I found? The refrigerator running with a piece of plastic on the front. And not even the full length of the front taped closed, just hanging down about halfway. What do you do with people like this? They don't listen to what you tell them. They don't follow your instructions when you try to help them. And now I'm kind of stuck with them. All I know to do is take them to Dayton and dump them out in the middle of the street. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to help them get a decent place, get a job, get a car. What kind of mentality are these people? Is it genetic? Is it something they can't help? I mean, I go over it and explain it to them one thing at a time. So what I did was I took my knife and I cut the cord off the refrigerator, so now they can't plug it in. So when I find a middle hinge for it, I'll wire the cord back together. But as inventive as these people are, I would not be a bit surprised to go back and find 2 bare wires stuck into the socket in the refrigerator running. If that happens, I'm getting my dolly and moving the refrigerator out of the building. But I mean, these people are inventive, they're intelligent, they know how to do things, but they don't do things to help. And the one thing I've noticed, these people, they all have a complete unawareness, a complete absence of awareness of other people. I don't know whether it's conceit or narcissism or what it is, but they do not consider the needs or the existence of other people as being important at all. They get what they want. Life is kind of it works on a basis, you can use money as a marker if you want. I give you $1 for a drink and you give me $1 for work. Everybody know King of the Road by Roger Miller? Rooms to let, 50 cents. 2 hours of push and broom buys an 8 by 12 4-bit room. That's a trade. That's maybe no money takes place, but 2 hours of push and broom, and the guy who owns the roadside motel will let him stay in a roadside room overnight. That's a trade of services for labor. That's all I'm asking. Nobody has to have money trading back and forth, but these people don't realize that. She texts me and say, I don't have any cigarettes. I buy her a pack of cigarettes. I bring it to her and give it to her, and I say, you either got to work this off or give me $7 for the cigarettes. All right, I'll go get the money for you. She goes in the house and never comes out. And does this over and over again. So my question is, am I an idiot? Am I just plain stupid? Or is there something genetic in me that says you are an optimist? You will not give up no matter how these people fall back and are just disgusting people as far as they behave. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't fire Joey and I don't kick these 2 girls out. The other guy I work with lives from hand to mouth. He's got 5 kids. We sold a house and his share was like $25,000. He wanted to go out and he'll spend that within 2 or 3 weeks, and then I have to advance him money on the next house we sell. He came to me and wanted me to put a $8,000 golf cart, one of those fancy golf carts with a motor in it, because he wanted to drive it around Wayne Lakes. And if I put it on my credit card, he can get it for like 5% cheaper, because at Farm and Ranch or Rural King, I have a Rural King credit card and I get a discount for buying stuff there. So he wanted me to buy it and then he was going to pay me back. What in the hell do you want an $8,000 go-kart for when you can't even, your personal car is not paid off. You got 2 cars and you went to the title loan people and you owe like $3,000 on a $2,000 car. And you want to spend $8,000 on this has got to be genetic, because I talk to these people and I tell them, get a credit card, charge everything on your credit card and pay it off every month. You can build your credit up if you need to. I can't use credit cards because I borrow to the max and then I pay my minimum payment and I just keep getting deeper in debt. They know what the consequences are, but they do it anyway. Why? That's my question. Why? Okay, so think about it. We have simultaneous epidemics of obesity and starvation. We have people starving to death and people dying because they're overweight at the same time in the same world. How is this possible in a caring world? What we are looking for, and this is a quote from the movie, is dreamers. Anyone who will feed the right wolf, the ones who haven't given up. I do not want you to give up either. Hopefully that's in your genetics. And my genetics say, even if it's not in your genetics, maybe we can make it in your genetics by setting an example, by helping you out just over the next hump. We will find out. But that is the answer. There are 2 wolves who are always fighting. One is darkness and despair. The other is light and hope. Which wolf wins? The wolf that you feed. The wolf that you care for, the wolf that you encourage. If you encourage the light wolf, the wolf of positivity, that's the wolf that will win. That's what the Cherokees tell us. Okay. Questions, comments?
I'm not a psychologist, but I've read that there are a couple in and out theories. I don't know if they're still in vogue, accepted, whatever. But you may want to look at it in the situations you described. One problem that many people have is the inability to delay gratification. Whether it's sitting in a 3rd grade classroom when it's not time for recess, or whether it's buying a golf cart, or whether it's exceeding your credit limit by thousands and thousands of dollars, only to find yourself in bankruptcy. The flip side of that, not really the flip side, but something corollary to that, is what psychologists used to call, and again, I don't know if this is still being developed, is it comes from inability to delay gratification, and they often say it's because a lack of an internal locus of control. So you may want to do a little research on that. The lack of internal locus of control or self-control, and as opposed and as going along with the inability to delay gratification. We have food, we want to keep it cold, wanting a partial piece of plastic over there because we're not paying for the electricity. And more importantly, we don't know how refrigerators work, but if it goes bad, then whatever. So be it. And in terms of the wolves, I found that very interesting, and particularly the earlier part of your presentation. I'm not able to stay for the movie today, but I'm definitely going to
Get the movie and watch it. Yeah, it is a fun movie. And I don't know whether these people, like I say, they're intelligent, they're crafty, they have goals, and they set their goals. When it comes to getting money for drugs, I don't know where they get their money, and whether I'm sure part of it. One of it was one of the scams. I don't know if it's a scam. She texts me and say, my mom's at Walmart buying us $130 worth of food and they won't take her credit card. Can you cash out me the money so I can and give it to Walmart, and then my mom will pay you back tomorrow, or she'll pay you back in 5 minutes. Did mom ever pay me back? No. So these people know how to do things. They know how to get what they want. The one thing they lack is wanting to help other people or wanting to keep the slate square and even with other people. All they want is to get what they want.
I suspect there's an internal, again, self-justification for I deserve it.
Yes.
Something bad happened to me in this very second, and if you help me out now, inability to delay gratification, rather than going out of a job and getting money to pay mom back to get the groceries to begin with. Those kind of things are cyclical. I guess that also falls in the area of sociology and social work, and I'm sure social workers have much greater insight into that than I do.
Yep. And I'm sure they've seen the experience many more times. But these people are the first to have umbrage when they're not treated right. I pulled weeds for an hour, you owe me $20. I said, you pulled weeds for 10 minutes and I wouldn't pay you $20 an hour to pull weeds anyway. Well, that's not fair. What's not fair is you stay in here for nothing and pulling weeds for 20 minutes and then leaving the weeds in a pile in the middle of the yard without even moving them.
But now I think I've injured my back.
I haven't hit that part yet. They don't even bother to give an excuse. They just say, how about if I work for this? Yeah, you can work for that, but you have to do it. I'm not paying you by the hour because you don't work for an hour at a time. You work for 5 minutes. It's just, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. All right, it's time for our offering. If you have something to share and a positive thought about that, throw it in the tray, in the cup. If you need something, except for those people of you who have used that, and we've done that before, food banks, when you call a church, if somebody, and I've gotten calls before, I need help with my electric bill, I need help with my food bill, and I say then call Fish in Greenville. We don't give out cash, but we will refer you to people who do. And if they were repeat people and say they really need something, I will say, come up, I've got some yard work at the church for you to do, and we'll trade you what you need. They never seem to show up for that part of it. So, all right. Our offering song is There Is More Love Somewhere. closing hymn is 331. Extinguishing the Chalice is a power at work in the universe by Tom Shadow. My friends, there is a power at work in the universe. It works through human hands, but it was not made by human hands. It is a creative, sustaining, transforming power. And we can trust that power with our lives and with our ministry. It will sustain us whenever we take a stance on the side of love, whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk and trust in that power, we are together held by that power. Our postlude is Faraway Places like Tomorrowland. Service at New Madison, First Universalist. Tomorrowland will begin shortly. Everybody's brought in food like a carry-in, so we're swamped with food. Appreciate that. And actually, some of it's healthy food. So, and I have the air fryer type snacks with dipping sauce. So we've covered from both ends to the other. There's lemonade back there, there's soda pop, and I'm going down to the basement to get the ice cubes right now. I don't have my, Between the Years is not playing on my computer for some reason. So I'm going to play you another trailer from, let's see if I can find it. Another trailer from Tomorrowland. Maybe.
Two, so your understanding